I'll share tonight is Lilo Nishmas Yehuda Meir ben Yaakov Shimshon. That's the Heilige Lublina Rav Meir Shapiro. His yahrzeit is 91st yahrzeit tonight. He died at the age of 45. He was 45 years old, but look what he accomplished in his lifetime. It's not to be believed. How much millions of Blat Gemara have been learned in his chus and Shemayim that he has. It's the Shamash and Aliyah. No, he had no children either. No, didn't have an easy life, but trust me, he had plenty of children. Talmidim Harehem Kibanim. Says Talmidim Harehem Kibanim. He had a lot of children. Baruch Hashem. Yehuda Meir ben Yaakov Shimshon. The Shama should have an Aliyah. Okay, we began yesterday Gemara that if a person goes ahead and he says that I divorced my wife. Gerashti es ishti, I divorced my wife. Now, what would you gain by saying that? That his wife does not fall to Yibum. So we had two Lashonis in Rabbi Yochanan. One was believed, and one he wasn't believed. Why should he be believed? Because he could divorce her now. Migo, I could divorce her now. One says you're not believed. The Gemara gave a teretz. One is speaking lemafreya, going back, and one is speaking lehaba. If he says Gerashti es ishti, meaning I divorced her like in April. His wife was Mizana in April 15th, and he wants to go ahead and save her life, right? Then he's not believed, because again, there's the reason he's saying it. But if he says now Gerashti es ishti, then lehaba in the future, not going back, he's believed. Why not? Because he can go ahead and do it now. Good. That was what we left off with. Okay, now we have a very, very interesting shaila. Very interesting shaila. Iboilahu on Kuf Lamed. Kuf Lamed Dalit Amid Beis. Kuf Lamed Dalit Amid Beis, about 7, 8, 10 lines up. Iboilahu. Amal lemafreya. Mahu lehimnuye lahaba. So now we know retroactively he's not believed. What about lahaba? Would he be believed concerning the future? Would he be believed concerning the future? In other words, I can't believe you're going back because we're worried that trying to save your wife. But what about lehaba? And what's the shaila? What's the shaila? Do we say mi palgin and dibura? Do we go ahead and we divide up when he said Gerashti es ishti? So in other words, he's believed lehaba and he's not believed lemafreya, right? So he says now what? Gerashti es ishti is believed, and that he says that what that was before this day he's not believed. So he's not believed going back, but he's believed in the future. It's not possible to go ahead and divide his words, and since he's not believed to go back, he's not believed to go what? Forward. He's not believed to go forward.
But you're right.
Again, he's saying we won't believe him that I divorced her yesterday, but we'll believe him that I divorced her today. Because again, it's lahaba. Would he be believed lahaba? Would he believe lahaba? And then this it won't fall to Ibn. Says the Gemara, right? Rav Mari, Rav Zvid. We have machloeks between Rav Mari and Rav Zvid. Chad Omar Palginon. We do say Palginon, and he would be believed lahaba. But Chad Omar loy Palginon. We don't go out and say Palginon. So in other words, it's a machlokes. It's a machlokes. Now we're going to bring a place where you do say Palginon, and we're going to say what's the difference. Okay. So but we want. So this one yes, one not. Okay. Says the Gemara. Maishna midarava. What's the shaila over here, guys? Where we have a machlokes, yet we're going to have a statement of Rava where we clearly do say Palginon. In other words, one of the Mandiyamar of Zvid of Mari said you don't. The one who says you don't, what's it different than what Rava said? What did Rava say? Dama Rava, Ish Ploini Ba Alishti. A guy says, this man, was boil my wife. Now, he is not believed on his wife. But is he believed on the man? In other words, guys, we're going to have to be Palgin and Dibura. If we're going to accept his testimony on the man, we have to be polig and say, well, we don't accept the testimony on the wife because he's a korif. So what's the halacha? Ish poini ba'alishti, hu va'achem mitztarfim lahargai. Him and another will combine to kill the man. He will be an accepted aid on the man. However, lahargai, to only the man is he believed. V'loy laharga, but he's not believed to go ahead and kill her. So obviously you say Palginan over here. So one of Rabbi Murray said, you don't say palgino when you say garash ishti, and we don't, since you don't believe the mafreya, you're not going to be able to have bar. What's the difference in this case over here where we say you do believe? What's the difference? Says the Gemara, betray gufe palginon, bichad gufa loy palginon. Okay, with tray two bodies, bottom rashbam, betray gufi, boil the isha. You have two people over here. The one who's mizana with her and her palginon. The legabe boil anu maminim kolaedis. In other words, it's very svaridic, fellas, to say by two people palginon. I can view his two separate testimonies. He's testifying on a man and he's testifying on a woman. So good, the testimony on the woman's no good, but the testimony on the man, why not? He can be mitzvah with another guy. I can go ahead and
he's getting killed. He's getting killed based on that he was boiled.
correct. But he's not believed to. So that's the palginon. That's the division. In other words, why isn't he believed on his wife? Because she's a karev. Okay, so it's not pshat. He's puzzled to testify on his wife, but it's not pshat. We don't believe him. You hear the chilik. You believe him, but I can't do anything. I can't accept it. In other words, Meir Leib is saying good, right? You're taking something, a testimony, and how do you divide it? So I'm trying to. I think the explanation is it's not we don't believe him. We won't accept it. So we won't accept it on the woman, but we will accept it on the man with another person. And Mashain Kane over here, Bechad, in one person to go ahead and say, in one person to say Laba and Mafreya, that we don't say. That's the difference according to the Mandiyam who says we don't say Palginan over here. Well, if there's another person who saw it, it's not she gets off. You don't have Edis. It doesn't get off. Get off means that there's a loophole. Over here, there's no loophole. There's no Edis.
Doesn't start. Because he's a Karo.
Again, but you're on the hash. Getting off means that you were guilty and you got off. There's no guilt over here. There's nothing. She's free and clear. She's free and clear. She's free and clear. Okay. Next case. Hahu, there was this individual, the Havikoshachiv, he was dying, and he had brothers. Look at the Rashbam, V'hoyu achin, v'loy banin, and therefore the muchsik liyavam. He was muchsik for Yibam. He was muchsik for Yibam because he had brothers, and he didn't have his children. So Amrulay, they said to him, is to say Leman is your wife. What's her status? Can she marry to the shuk, or does she have to marry a brother? So Amalahu, he said, Chazia lekahana rabba. She can marry the Kohen Gadol. Now it doesn't mean she can marry the Kohen Gadol because she couldn't even marry a Kohen Hedyot. Because right, the lemanis over here is that what that she's divorced, right? She's so Tosfos deals with the girsa. What do you mean the Kohen rabba? So if you look at Tosfos, just a little bit off to focus on the lashon. Yesh moich gim rabba. There's those who are mochik that you can't marry a kohen gadol. They take out the word rabba. The l'chol apochis almonahi, guys, and she's going to be an almana. He's dead. V'leichazil kohen gadol. V'yomer the shape goris rabba. You know why? The afla kohen hedyot asira. She's even usher to a kohen hedyot because she's a gerusha. In other words, the belief over here is that you're divorced. The reason we're going to matter because she says she's divorced. The het is going to be that what? Guys, if he has brothers, what's the heta? The only way to get out of it is the divorce. If you have brothers and no sons, no children, you're falling to Yibum. So you're telling me over here, the guy said she can marry. What's he saying? I divorced her.
Can't do that.
Yes, no, he can. He's saying
He can't marry, but she can't get married.
no, she can marry to the shuk. Why can she marry to the shuk? She's a gerusha. So Tais is saying Geshmak. You're not Garis Rabba. Forget not Garis Rabba. You can't be Garis Kahana either. Even a regular Kohen she can't marry. Right? Dim Kain Neman. Kidit Nam B'Masti son the Zebani Neman. She would have been believed he had a son. So what? So guys, so what? Therefore, is the gersa kana rabba? Alahachi Perushay, the Chazil Kona Rabba, Klaimar, Eina Zakuka Liyibum, Shigarashtia, the Muteres Lachalo Oilam, Vafilu Lakain Godel Mitam Zikas Yavamin. In other words, if you're asking me, can she marry to the Shuk? She can marry, if it's the Zikas Yavamim that's holding her back, she can even marry a Kohen Gadol. In other words, what's the reason that a woman who dies without a man who dies without children, his wife is Chayve Lavin, and we lose Somasech the Yavamis, she can't marry anybody. And if she does, the marriage is not ineffective. It's the one case where even though we say that a Kohen would be Makadosh Garusha would work because Kedushin works by Chayve Lavim, the exception to the rule is a Yavam Shuk. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. It's not Tofes. She wouldn't need a get. Guys, good? So you know what he meant? You're asking me, is she mutter to marry? He says, Mitam de Zika, she can marry a Kohen Gadol. Good, there's other problems. She's an Alban to a Kohen Gadol. She's a Gerusha Kohen Hedjit. But as the Yibum problem, there would be no problem. That's what he's saying. And therefore you can be Garis the whole thing. So that's the key. That now another Geras of Rav Menachem Garis, Chazer lekahuna Kloimar, Einis the Kukul Yavam, the Chayzeris the Kahuna Beinashi Lecha Betruma. If she was the Kohenes and she had no kids, you know what she can do? Goes back to daddy's house and eats Truma. So that's what it means, Rav Nachum says over here. That Chazi L'Kahuna, you know what it means, Chazi L'Kahuna? It doesn't mean in marriage. Chazi L'Kahuna to eat Truma again in daddy's house. So two nice diversions to explain a Lashon, right? Either you're saying that als the Zika, she's mutter to a Kohen Gadol, or she's not, we're not speaking about her remarrying. We're speaking about she has no sons. She goes back to daddy and can eat Truma. Chazia L'Kuna Rabba to go back and eat Truma. Okay, now, so let's be goybus over here. What does the Bach say? Says the Bach, Amarava. My nechush, what are you worried about over here? Ha'amrab Chia bar Abba, Amrab Yochanan, Bal Shoime Garashti es Ishti Nemon. In other words, you're right, because she's free to go. There's brothers. Guess what? She's divorced. No, that's to get off the hook. That's to get off the hook. In other words, that's why the Rashbam said they were brothers, or else if there's no brothers, no chazaka muchzik, you wouldn't need anything. Of course she's believed. Over here, the chazaka is she's false to Yibum. So the hook, to get off the hook, what is good divorce. So that's what Taisa said, Avi. That's why even to a kohen, you wouldn't be believed. That's what it meant. Yeah, that's what it meant. Good. Now, so what do you now? Going back to the beginning of Shir, yesterday's daf, there was two gerses in it, right? Nemon and Enu Nemon. The answer was Nemon lahaba and Enu Nemon lemafreya. So Amalei Abayava Kiyas Rab Yitzchak Bar Yosef Rabbi Yochanan, he stated in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Baal Shoime Garashtias Ishti Einay Neman. A Baal that said I divorced my wife is not believed. So Amalei, Rabbi said to Abaya, V'lav Mijloi Shaninan Kan Lemafreya Kan Laba. Didn't we give a teretz that Einay Neman Lemafreya, but what? But you are Neman Lehaba, and this is Lehaba. Guys, this is Lehaba. Whether she can marry, so therefore you are believed, says Rava. So Amalei, Abaya told Rava, on a piece of Gemara that you answered up, you're going to be soimich to mata the isur of Yivam L'Shuk. In other words, it's not pshat necessarily this was accepted for halacha. You had a kasha. You're right. You had a kasha, right? What was your kasha? One you goris neman, the other you goris any neman. Kan labo, kan lemafreya. It doesn't mean, however, that you're going to mata the isur just based upon the Gemara. Good. So therefore, Abaye told Rabba. So Amalei Rabba Rav Nasan Barami Choshla Einachinami Yafbi Chayish, and she would need chalitza. She would need chalitza. Choshla Chayish that what? Chayish that he didn't divorce her. You know why? Why did we say yesterday? Because if he would have divorced her, there would have been a coil. Guys, we said if he would have divorced her, there would have been a coil. And since there was no coil, Pashtus what? You won't be believed. So Chash, and therefore what? It's very interesting lashon, guys. Chashla would be chayish that there wasn't divorce, and therefore she would be zakek liyibam because they're brothers, and you have to do chalitza. Hahu dahavi muchziklon the lesle achi. there was this individual. We are muchzik that he didn't have any brothers. V'yamar b'shas misa, the lesle achi. And at the time of misa, he said, you know what? I have no brothers. Rabbi Yosef, my lechashla, chadar the muchzik lo the lesle achin, v'oid ha'amar b'shas misa, the lesle. In other words, and what's the v'oid? And even if he did, he says that I don't have any meaning. Believe me, I have no brothers. Me, I could have divorced her. In other words, we have the chazaka, and we also have his words that saying right now that again, she doesn't fall to Yibam. I have no brothers. Believe me now, because I could divorce her, and then we have to have a Yibam problem. Amalei Abaya, Ha'amri, they say the Ika Eidim Medina Sayam, the Yodai the Islayache. In other words, there's a rumor that that Medina Sayam, there are Eidim, that there's brothers, that they're brothers. I don't know if they have. So no, right now it's very weak. But Epis, there's a rumor. So how can we let her remarry? Again, you see, guys, the severity of the Yavam L'Shuk. You see the severity of this Chayvei Lav and this Yavam L'Shuk. In other words, it's like a Matrimonation Ish. We spoke at it at length in the Yavamis. What is a Zika? A Zika is Hashem's Kedushin, right? Yehuda, right? You're attached. It's like an Israel Ish. The Matrimonation Ish. By you learn what by with Yavamis? Yeah. So you're going to go ahead and take this Zika and just you see from this Gemara, you see the severity of it. Right? It's an Issa just because you learned to shot in the Gemara, Habelim Afreya, you want to matter an Ish. So over here also, in other words, if there any possibility whatsoever there might be a brother that's subject to Yibum, and therefore you're just going to let it go. So again, you see the severity of the Zika, like I just spoke out. It's the one case where Kedusha is not typhus because she's like married. She's like married to the brother already. Says the Gemara, Hashta mihas halesna who come on, right? L'chayra, these Eidim are in here. Lav hainu de Reb Chanina, isn't this analogous to Reb Chanina? The Amar Reb Chanina, Eidim bitzad Eston. You have Eston's a place, a faraway place. You have Eidim in the sign of Eston, b'teyasa. Pirish. There's Shmuel's daughters were captured. So you worry that they were abused, that they were physically abused, and Shmuel's daughter and a person, and she said I wasn't, and another person said what? Other person said that you weren't. In other words, we have reason to be makel. They said 1 second, but there's Eidim over there that says she was. So they answered, Eidim be'estan v'tayasa. The Eidim are over there, we should asa. So the same thing over here. There are Eidim over here. It says they're brothers and she's subject to Yibam. We should asa her. Why is that not analogous? In other words, you want to say that Mechayish, what? What's the answer, guys? There's a difference. There's a difference between the Isser of Yibum and the Chashash of what? Of Znus, of abuse. Says the Gemara. Amalei Abaya, imikalnu b'shvuya. If we're going to be makel by a shvuya, saying, oh, the Eidim are over there, we don't need them to come. Makel be'eshes ish? Guys, the Lashon. Should we makel by an eshes ish to mata? What?
She is in a chazak of Eishes Ish.
What? Again, but he says, but she's going to be almana, or she's going to be a garu or a chalutza. Yes, I'm saying this, but you see the issa again. It fits in very well with I'm stelling over here. So Amalei Rabbi Lev Nasim Marami Choshla Ye'enachinami. You have to be chayish, and you won't let her marry without either a get or finding out exactly what happened, if there's Eidim or not. Okay? It's very, very fascinating. The last part of the Mishnah was, let's go to the outside case. Two brothers and a suffix. Reuven and Shimon. There's 3 fields. Guys, let's go through it again. Outside. 3 fields. Reuven, Shimon are 2 brothers, and there's 3 fields. They would divide up a field and a half, a field and a half. Reuven says that Levi is our brother. Shimon is not buying this, right? What's the din? Shimon gets a field and a half. Reuven gets a field and a half, and he gives Shimon a half. Why does Shimon only get it? Gives Levi a half. Gives Levi a half. Reuven's entitled. There's 3 fields. Reuven is vaday entitled to a field. Shimon is vaday entitled to a field and a half. But the other half of the field that is questionable is by Shimon. Ruvain doesn't give 3/4 and 3/4. It's not pshat, guys, right? Ruvain's entitled to a full field because there's 3 brothers and 3 fields. So he gets his. Where's the other half of field? So Levi gets a half a field of Ruvain. The other half of the field is by Shimon. Good. Okay, that's now Shimon. If Shimon dies, the half a field goes back to Ruvain. Shimon's got his field and a half, right? He's got his field and a half. He doesn't gain. So if the half a field, Levi dies, it goes back to who? To Ruvain. What happens if Levi goes ahead and gets money, buys other properties, and he dies? Then it goes to both of them. Which seems to be counterintuitive. You're telling me on one half he's not a brother, and the other half he is a brother, right?
Oh,
Okay.
let's go.
Let's go together. Okay, so that's what Gemara is going to discuss, guys, right? So again, when Levi dies, then Shimon, who never accepted Levi as a brother, is going to get a piece of the action. Now the question is, what does Shimon say? What does Shimon taina? In other words, what does Shimon say? Does he say he's not my brother? Does he say he is my brother? What exactly does he say? Okay, so now this says the Gemara. Achi ein nemon, and the other brother is my kamri. The kamri achunahu. If they accept him as a brother, right? So why does he get only him, only Ruvain, and not Shimon? V'suloi. In other words, only he gets back if Ruvain, if right, he should get with all the brothers. In other words, if they recognize him as a brother, he should not only get from Ruvain, he should get from everybody, right? He should get from everybody. If Shimon says it's my brother, so why is Levi only getting a piece of the action from Ruvain? He should get a piece of the action from Shimon as well. If Shimon recognizes him as a brother, right? Right? Why Yitel Imoy Bechelkoi only with Ruvain V'suloi Ela de Ka'amri? Shimon says Lavachinahu. He's not a brother. Ema Seifa Nafdul Nechasim Mimakam Acher. If Levi gets Nechasim from another place, Yirshu Achav Imoy, then Shimon's going to get. 1 second, what does he get? Ha'amile Lavachunahu. You're playing both sides of the fence. If he says he is a brother, then Levi should get a piece of the original Yerusha. And if he says he's not a brother, why, when Levi dies, is he getting anything? Says like we don't know. We don't know. We don't know if he's a brother or not. And therefore, he does not inherit them. Shimon tells Levi, bring a raya that you're a brother. I might see I love Levi a raya. Guys, you want a piece of our action. We don't know. Ruvain says you're a brother, you're getting. We don't know. It's a suffix. Why do we have a rule? I might see you want to take away our money. Bring a raya that you're our brother. So ain't other item. So therefore, that explains why Shimon does not have to give a piece of the action to Levi. Well, okay, now so this is Bari V'Shema, so it's very good. We'll see in a second. Now, if the Yarshim say what? He says he is a brother, right? If he says he's a brother, then he has to give it up, right? So, Zoisei Meres, Amarava, Zoisei Meres, we can medayik over here. Monali biyadcha, you have a mana in your hands. V'hala Omer Eini Yodeya, and he says, I don't know, is pata. Why does Levi taina? You have a piece of our Yerusha. Why does Shimon taina? We don't know. So you wouldn't say over here, Bari V'Shema, right? You wouldn't say over Bari Shema, right? He said, so I say Meres, that if a guy claims from you money, you say, I don't know, because what's happening over here? Levi is claiming from Shimon money. Shimon says, I don't know. And what does it say? Shimon does not have to give the money to piece of the Yerusha to Levi. So Manali biyadcha, and I don't know, would work. Abaya Amar Amibeis, La'olam Emelach Chayev. I can tell you you're Chayev. You know why? Avi, look at the top Rashbam. I'll tell you if you say any idea, you be chayiv. Did bari b'shema bari adif? Bari b'shema bari zadif. So you say you're a brother for sure, and he says I don't know. You would have to pay. So what's the reason over here that you're off the hook? The shiny hacha over here, it's the kimona la'acha b'yotcha dummy, right? That Reuven is saying, right? Reuven is saying, it's, you know what you're saying? You owe him money. You're not, Reuven's not saying you owe me money. Reuven's saying you owe Levi money. That's the case. That's not a case of Bari V'Shema. It's a case of Shema V'Shema. Look at Rashbam. Lo'ilam Chayev. The Bari V'Shema Bari Yodef. If you know for sure, Manali B'Yotcha. V'Shani Hacha. The Asafik Atzmai Eina Yodeya. Levi doesn't know. Levi doesn't know. Ve'Eina Yacha Litoin Tainis Vadai. Levi can't say, I'm your brother. The suffix, who's suffix who? It's a, in other words, it's a suffix. Shimon's a suffix and Levi's a suffix. The Hilkach Uki b'moina b'cheskas Mari will keep it by Shimon. Aval la'ach toyim b'shvil suffix mana la'achi b'yetchem. Like Reuven's taina, the money of Levi's in your hands, Shimon. Hilkach Amile la bal dvarim d'diat. They say, Reuven, get out of here. You have nothing to. You're tining for Levi. You're not Baldava. Levi's the Baldava. So it's like you're saying what, right? Okay, let's go over this again one more time. You have over here a case where we're not sure. Apparently, we're playing both sides of the fence. On one hand, Shimon's not giving up anything because he's not a brother. On the other hand, Shimon's inheriting him because he is a brother. It seems to be very counterintuitive, right? Says the Gemara, here's the case. Shimon says, I don't know. He's not saying outright, you're not my brother. He says, I don't know. Good. So the Gemara wants to say, so I say Meres, that Bari B'Shema, that Lav Bari Adif. Because Pashtus, we are learning that Levi's saying, I am a brother. Shimon's saying, I don't know. And nonetheless, Shimon's potter. That's what he wanted a taina. Comes along Abaya, it says, no, it could be Bari B'Shema Bari Adif. But there's no Bari over here. Not only does Shimon say, I don't know, Levi says, I don't know. Who's the only one who knows? Reuven. So Reuven's tiny zich for what? For Levi? Says Shimon to Reuven, it's me and Levi, not you. You got your piece of the action. Don't bother me. Geschmack. Okay, the Aleph. Now, the Ma'u Yachzru and the Chosim Limakaimam, he said that what? That if he improves the property, then Shimon gets a piece of the action, right? Boy Rava, Shevach Sheshvachoi Hanachasim Me'aleihem. Let's say Levi did not work it, right? He did not work it, and it just got better by itself, and he died. Mahu. Is this din like the Chasim, right, of themselves that only goes to Ruvain? Or do we say no, it's like improved property and it'll go to Shimon as well? Again, you have a property, gave a piece of property to Levi, and Levi improved the property. Do we view, and Levi dies, does it all go to Ruvain, or do we view it as improvements and go to Shimon as well? Now, Bishvach Hamagia Likaseifa Vayim, Shvach that the karka, he got a piece of karka that was empty, and he troubled himself, and he worked, and he plowed, and he produced something, right? Then in that case, that certainly like Tiboylach, the Chi Shenaflu Nechasim Akamachadoi. That's considered totally new, and therefore what? And therefore the brothers would get it. Shimon would get a piece of the action. Ki Tiboylach, the suffix, is Shpach She'ena Magilik Svayim. He didn't work it at all. Dikla, for example, a date tree, a palm, v'olim, and naturally it got thicker. By Ira, land, v'askin sirtin, and sediment came up and it got better, but he didn't work at it. Mai, what would it then be? Is that considered, guys, the same original property and it only goes to Ruvain, or is it considered improvements and it goes to Shimon as well? Now, why isn't that, couldn't it be considered improvements? Because he didn't work at it. It can happen naturally. On that, the Gemara says, Teku, we have to wait for Eliyahu Navi to answer up. Okay, now we know a little bit about the Shriv Meirah. We've been discussing the Shriv Meirah. Now there's a tremendous kula about the Shriv Meirah. Divrei Shriv Meirah kiksuvim uchesum edarim. The words of the Shriv Meirah as if it's written and given over, meaning all over. Usually you need a kinyan. In order for something to go ahead have a transfer of ownership, you need a kinyan. The Shriv Meirah, since we're worried about his mental state at the time, if He has enough on his mind that he doesn't have to, he's got limited time left. So we go ahead they say the words of the Shchim Mirah do not require a kinyan. The words alone is kiksuvim, as if it's written down in shtar, uchimasurim dami, and given over. Okay, so now we're going to deal with Shchim Mirah. The shtar of Shchim Mirah is called a daitaki. It's called a daitaki, which is in the treatment of datei koyim liyos, as we're going to see. Says the Gemara, Misha Meis, person's nifta, Misha Meis, a person is nifta, and v'nimseis daitaki kishura al yerechai, and you find on him, tied to him, literally, a shtar, and it says so and so should get so and so, but he never gave it. He never gave the shtar. He never gave the shtar, but you know for sure it's his. That's why it's saying it's tied to him. It's not pshat. It could be somebody else's. Harizu in a klum. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It does. It does not. What? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not right. However, let's see Rashbam. Harizu in a klum. Shafilu im hichzik acher misa ba'oisei ashtar oisei shenichtav aloi hamatana. Even if what the one who that it was written, if he's nonetheless loikana, even he would get it. The afagav that savash shkemera koina lacha misa. When even though that Sava of Shkimra works after Misa, Hani Mili, look at the bays. Hani Mili Savois Bepiv, that's when it's done with his mouth. Kadesh le titruf daitai. Aval koyach hashtar le odiv kitzavasai. But the koyach of the shtar is not better than his tzava. Shari le gomer lach noisai ela bekabalas shtar. He concluded that he wants the kinyan to be done through the shtar. Vein shtar lach Misa. Guys, outside. You would think on the surface, well, if he said it in his mouth, he gets it. That certainly wrote the document, he gets it. What's the answer? We're not questioning the shtar. But when was the shtar going to work, guys? La'achamisa. Ain't shtar la'achamisa. Had he given it to him beforehand, no problem. But good, it's in writing. We're not questioning his rutzin. We're not questioning what he wants. We have a problem. This is the main sugya in the beginning of Ksubis of Ein Get La'achamisa, right? In the beginning of Ksubis, Ein Get La'achamisa. So this is Ein Shtar La'achamisa. So therefore, Lo Yama Klum. Therefore, over here, it's going to be what, a case of Lo Yama Klum. It's like nothing. Very geschmack. Zika Bo Achayla La'acha Boida Mechayim. A third party, the person who is a Shriv Meirah, he's Mizaka the Shtar to a third party while he's alive, even if he does it Bal Peh. Bein min hayarshin uben she'enim min hayarshim, whether the person who's inheriting is a Yarish or not a Yarish, the var of Kayamim, his words are Mekuyim, and we'll see Be'ez Hashem. We'll see Be'ez Hashem in the Gemara what it's talking about. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. Eza hi daitaki. What's exactly a daitaki? Kol shekosiv ba, the following da tehela mekem aliyos. Know that it should be mekem. It should be enduring. It should be aliyos, and to be after I die. That's the lashon of daitaki. It's the contraction of those four words. Ve'ezehi matana, and what's the matana? Kol shekoseba mehayom la'achamisa. This is your shtar from day one, from now until after I die. Fred the Gemara. El mehayom la'achamisa hu dahave matana. Me'achshav lo yavi matana. If you say this is yours from now, wouldn't it be a matana? Amar Abaya hachi kamar. Ezehi matnas bari shehi kamanas shchiv meirah. Which is the matna of a bari, but it's like the matnas of the shchiv meirah, like koni elo la'acha misa. That the only koni after misa el kol shekoysev boi me hayoim ula'acha misa. Okay, if anyone says that what from hayom la'acha misa. If you look at Rashbam, right before it gets wide, ve'ezim matana spari shetikna kol shekoysev me hayoim. The mashma hachi gufu koni lecha me hayoim. You get the property today. Uperi la'acha misa, and after I die, you'll get the paris. If he wouldn't have written the word mehayoim, ain't a koina, he wouldn't be koina at all. The ain't matana lachamisa. Shari ain't koyach laodam litem mikoidim lachain davash layuchal lahaknes v'yisaz man. In other words, since he couldn't give it to him after death, he can't do it now. She writes to the sky matana. V'achamisa heich yachal laodam litem acha achrei shemes v'nikvar. After he's dead, he can't go ahead and give it to him. So the Gemara asked then, this is the only umatmina time of the okay. No. So the Hayom La'achamisa, the teretz is that it's similar to the Shchiv Meirah. Ezeman is Bari Shchiv Meirah. That's only koine after Misa. Kol Shekoysim Hayom La'achamisa. Yosef Rabba Barav Huna Bach Sadra de Beirav. Rabbi Rav Huna was sitting on the portico of the Beirav. Yosef Mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan, and he was saying in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Shchiv Meirash Amar Kisvu Utinu Manul Ploni. Write and give a certain amount of money to so and so. Umes, and he dies. Ein Kaisim v'Noisnin. Why? In other words, had he not said the word kaisvin, he just would have said noisnin. That would have been fine. But when he said kasvu, that we added the problem. Maybe he's b'shtar, and shtar is in. That's what Rebbe Loza said. Amalu Rebbe Loza said Rebbe Loza as diruba. Be careful. That's the halacha. That's what he said. Now, according to this report, Rabbi Yochanan was the one who said it, and Rebbe Loza, his Talmud, Rabbi Loza ben Padas, was his Talmud, is substantiating it, which is usually he doesn't. Rabbi Yochanan does not need the substantiation of Elazar, right? Rav Shizvi Amar, Rabbi Loza Amra. Rabbi Loza said in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan is the one who reported as Diruba. So the question is, who said it? In the first lashon, it was Rabbi Yochanan who made the statement with Rabbi Loza going ahead and corroborating it. In the second statement, it was Loza saying it, and more importantly, is Rebbe corroborating it. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Kavasei Rav Shizvi Mistabra. It's Mistabra like the latter lashon of Rav Shizvi. Very good, as Rabbi Loza said it. It's the Rabbi Yochanan Lasudei Aloha. We need Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yochanan to literally testify, to give his stempel on it. The Rabbi Loza. Rabbi Yochanan Amra. It's the Rabbi Loza Lasudei Aloha. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi. Does he need it? Obviously not. But in addition, another proof that the Rebbe Loza is the one who said it. Tashma, Rebbe Loza Amar, the Shalach Rav Mishmei the Rebbe Vohu. Have a yoidim, you should know. Shalach Rebbe Loza legoyla mishum Rabbeinu shliv meirash amru kisfu tru mana leploini. Write and give a mana to Pliny umeis ein kaisim and noisnin. Do not write it. Shem legamar laachnoisay ela b'shtar vein shtar laacha misa. On that, Rabbi Yochanan said, "Tibodek, you should check it out." No, it's checking out. Don't. He didn't say when he said the halachas like that. It means check it out. Check out what he meant. What does that mean? Let's see. So, check it out. What does checking it out mean? Says the Gemara. My tibadek he also Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came up from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Omar, he said two things. Daitaki mevatel is daitaki. We're going to see what that a second star of shchimei rakim mevatel the first one. That's not what we need. And the din sheni is what we need. Shchiv meirash omer kisu through mana leploini umeis royin. We see im kimiyapes koichai. If the purpose of the star was to go ahead and enhance the matana he gave him, then kaisvin. In other words, guys, the problem of this, if you want the star to facilitate the kinyan, you got a problem. If you want the star to go ahead and buttress the kinyan of the amira, then it's not making the kinyan and it would work. So that's what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. Tibadek, check it out. Don't just say outright it's not good because he said kaisvin. Maybe he wants the star to go ahead and support the amira, but not that the star should facilitate the kinyan. So that's what tibadek means. And we'll see in a second how you do that. Okay? Royan. Im kemiapes koichai kaisvin, write it. If not, then in kaisvin don't write it because ain't shtalat achamisa. Master Rav Abba Bar Mamol Barish Omar a bari that says kisu tenu manalaplini umeis in kaisvin v'noisnin because clearly he was depending upon the star. Hashchiv meira, but a shchiv meira kaisvin v'noisnin kasha. You see that what? A shchiv meira, you will write it. You said you don't write it. Says who moisav law. He Rav Abba Mamal asked the question, and he answered, you know when it's speaking when you write it? When you know that the star is not making the kinyan, but it's to enhance the amira. Let's make it to the Mishnah. How do you know what exactly is to miyapes koichai? Rav Chisda, like Rav Chisda is going to say in the 9th parak, that they write a star, you write in the star, the konina minei moisif almatnanda. And the kinyan that the koina from this is, and this the hakinyan shekoninu that was done mimenu b'olahoisiv al matana. That's coming to moisiv on the matana, right? So the kinyan is to miyapis the koichai of but the matana was given balpeh. So chanami damar af Kasuvu v'chasuma v'havalei. He said, write it, sign it, and give it to him. Itmar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel halacha kaisim v'noisten. You do like if Abba Malma, you do write it and you do give it. The Chena Rabbi Rav Nachman halacha kaisim v'noisten. It really right. After you, but it's speaking when you checked out to make sure what it was. Guys, you checked out to make sure it was Miyapolis Koiche, right?
Yeah.
It was written in the star.